International Korczak Conference on Education for Excellence, Diversity, and Respect to have some amazing topics and discussions, and I hope that this is an introduction to a long-term collaboration on issues that matter to all of us.
Korczak in Seattle. Think of this. It's not about wealth. It's not about money. It's not about prosperity. It's much more subtle, much more important, I would say critically important, because it's about children.
The world needs values. It needs signposts, authorities, and moral references.
For others to start thinking and doing the way Korczak did. It would be extremely helpful and useful for children in Seattle and all over the world.
Also need philosophers, poets, teachers, volunteers, and human rights activists, like we need air.
Where ideas and philosophies and practice can be shared so that it can be taken back out into our world, because it is very important work. Any work involving children is critically important.
This is who Korczak is to me. Through his contemplative or meditative inner path, he kept the flame of humanity alive for us. Don't talk about Korczak, think and do Korczak. And I really took it to heart.
Partnership between adult and child that can be achieved through the belief in children's rights, in the equality between the children and adults.
How do we continually think and innovate, and how do we advance policy that supports what we want to see that next generation of students in our classroom have?
Why not combine child protection and family preservation services with early learning?
There are educator shortages all over the country. There are concerns around educator diversity and how are we bringing new folks into the profession. We still have an educator workforce that is predominantly white and female, and we really would like to see that there are many pathways into becoming an educator and that they are inclusive of all the communities that are part of our state.
Korczak speaks of how you respect the rights of children, how you respect children, how you hear their voices, and that it can be done, and that it works.
These are the photos I took a week ago in war-torn Aleppo. The children asked that I photograph them and show the world that they are there and they need support. The international Korczak movement today is a living continuation of Korczak's thoughts. It continues to grow in strength and importance around the world.
It rose out of what was happening in the end of the 19th century and into the middle of the 20th century, the time when Korczak was part of a larger recognition of global intellectuals. What would it look like if we were in the United States, if the United States were to say, let's look at schools and see what we can do to really make them, and so that they're not dehumanizing, so that they're not preserving the racial structure that we have in the country, so that they're actually empowering as students and taking students seriously.
Reality is that education has now taken on a new perspective.
The curriculum, the content is being the center, and making children the center of an educational system. Number two,
it's an issue of humanity. There's no race in the world. The only race we have is human. Experts quote, "Every human being is a person. It doesn't matter what color they are or what religion they are a human being." And this is very important for the children to realize. This is why I talk, and I hope we are going to bring up a new generation.
Teaching about children, about valuing children, honoring, respecting them, sanctifying them, really sort of appealing to them in the best way. And some of the disturbing statistics that I find, there have been studies done here, and I'll just mention the Human Rights Campaign, which surveyed a diverse group of 50,000 youth, aged 13 through 18, and it found that 70% of the respondents had directly witnessed bullying. And Muslim bigotry in particular We are seeing unprecedented levels of hate crimes against American Muslims. We're seeing Islamophobia, xenophobia, racism generally, anti-Semitism growing at rapid rates across our country. I mention it as a partisan issue because it is bipartisan. And it's so important for us to recognize what is happening and look at ways that as educators, you guys are on the front lines. And Dr. Korczak, he was certainly a hero, but I have to say that many of you in this room, you're the everyday heroes. You're the people who have that direct impact.
Korczak truly believed that action was more important than belief. It's what you do every day that counts. In the child's right to respect, he says that children deserve that we do not use our power to deny their life, their freedom, their welfare, their health care. I'm adding a few of these, having a safe space for their future.
How much are we interacting and making sure that they're interacting with people of other faiths, and especially when they're children, because as you're all pointing out, that's when it starts.
There's a great organization that I know Neela, I think Mark, and I know people from the Episcopal Diocese and the Jewish community have worked with called Kids for Peace. It's a wonderful example that not only brings Christian, Jewish, and Muslim kids together here in America, but also brings Israeli Jewish and Israeli Arab kids and Christians together in Israel and in the United States.
Every time we asked the question, every one of these individuals began with their response by saying this: well, it's complicated. And the fact is, it's complicated. Children actually have got much less bias crammed into this limbic system, and they are in fact freer than we are. But the problem is that they're being put under kind of conceptual bondage all through their childhood too.
We have to deconstruct the historical reality of superiority, salvation, and the truth.
And even the people who are secular, even the people who may hate religion, when they see faith leaders come together as a united force, especially if it's interfaith, they pay attention. Love, like respect, like the dignity of every human being, like standing firmly for justice. These are teachings in every single one of our sacred texts, but those don't get as much attention.
To say this comes from Korczak's boy, and he is a very senior person. And that was shortly before his death, this interview. And he says Korczak was a saint.
Today, 75 years since Korczak's death, I ask, what have we been able to do in this time? How have we developed his works and ideas? How have we created our own works in his spirit? Korczak was and is the best of friends to children and the childhood expert.
The beauty of all of you coming here, Korczakians, and creating this atmosphere which is absolutely unique.
It is my goal that we're able to build on outcomes from this gathering and continue bringing Korczak's ideas to the Pacific Northwest.